It is a little after 10 here. Welcome to another week of Advocacy Days. I hope you get a chance to join whatever hearings you're able to, whether it's signing pro, testifying, remotely, written, or in person. We are the agenda for today and the topic is going to be on supported employment and the provider rates. And just gonna go ahead and start with that. I'm gonna pull up my agenda here on my end, and then we're gonna start here today with Courtney Williams and Karen Williams on the Community Employment Alliance. And but yes, a little brief before I have Courtney and Karen get started. The employment services and day rates is very crucial and important. Last year, last Advocacy Days last year, we passed House Bill 1980, which is about community inclusion, employment services concurrently, which even though passed, we can't implement that bill fully without providers getting more rates. And when the providers get more rates, they're able to actually implement these services. So which is why it's so important to get this ball rolling as well and support employment services and provider rate increases. So I will have Courtney Williams and Karen Williams take it away.
Thank you, Taylor. Thanks so much, everyone, being here. Karen, I'm going to have you begin, but who gets to tell the joke that we're not related? I think you did last year. So I'm Courtney Williams. I'm the Executive Director for the Community Employment Alliance, and I'm going to slow down because I already can tell I'm going too fast. I'm going to pass the mic to Karen Williams.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Taylor, for the introductions. And you hit it spot on that we were excited to see the legislature pass some really important bills last session that would expand employment and community inclusion services, whether this was the co-current services that you were talking about through House Bill 1980, or the expansion of school to work, which is only in 7 counties now, and making that available statewide. So no matter what zip code you're growing up in and graduating from, you would have access to employment services and community inclusion. And right now, as you said, we're struggling. So I just want to start by saying, I wish I was in Olympia and I wish we were on the steps, bundled up in the cold, gathering. And for decades, the people who have been part of Employment Advocacy Day have made Washington top in the country for the number of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the workforce. And I'm talking real jobs with real pay and real inclusion. And part of our success together has been the strong advocacy and legislative support and solid technical assistance and training for job coaches, so the providers were ready to deliver quality services. And like Taylor said, right now, the data is showing that most providers are struggling with major staffing crisis. Staff are leaving faster than we can hire. And many of you have felt the negative impacts of staff turnover, right? It's having a lot of job coaches is hard. They need time to get to know you and the employers and the community, and they need time to learn their job and have the skills to develop awesome job placements and career advancement opportunities. So the staffing crisis is because providers haven't had a rate increase in 12 years. It's hard to pay wages that allow us to attract and retain quality talent. And people with intellectual and developmental disabilities deserve quality job coaches, and those job coaches deserve a livable wage. We can't go backwards in Washington. We've come too far, and part of the civil rights movement for people with developmental disabilities is the opportunity to belong and contribute. And for many people in the United States, jobs are a major way that we participate in our community. We can't let our decades of success in building inclusive workplaces crumble. So here's the solution, and here's where we need all of us. The legislature early in 2022 asked for a study to understand what it costs to deliver employment and community inclusion services. Now they have the numbers in their hands, they have the report, and they need to make their best effort to fund the recommended rate so we can get back to the business of building inclusive workplaces. Please go and share your story with your legislator about why work matters to you and what would happen if you couldn't rely on your job coach to support your employment success. You have to tell have your employer tell their story about how awesome it is to have you on their team. Together, all of us, we can keep Washington as a place where people with intellectual and developmental disabilities are valued and contributing in the workforce. So let's go get to work.
Thank you, Karen. You did a beautiful job, as expected, covering the need and the sense of urgency. And on behalf of the Community Employment Alliance, I see 120 individuals on this call, and I just want to say thank you so much for participating. It takes a village. Today marks 3 years for me being in this community, and I've seen such an amazing coalition of advocates and providers and parents and self-advocates and et cetera, really working together throughout this whole pandemic and this whole process. And so I'm really excited to get to the finish line. I have to stress there is a sense of urgency. This is going to be a budget ask. And so it's going to take us to literally day 100 of session when we'll know if we're coming out with an actual rate increase. And so stay with us. If you need any support with how to advocate and how to testify or any messaging support, please connect with the Community Employment Alliance. We've got wonderful support systems in place. We've got 2 incredible legislative co-chairs, Karen Williams being one, Tammy Bone being the other, and an amazing administrative assistant that really supports getting you to the access to all these resources. Jason Peterson, who you'll see on later this call. I do not want to take up much time because Karen did a brilliant job and we've got a packed agenda. So I'm going to pass the mic back to Taylor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Courtney and Karen. You both spoke true and to this, and I appreciate it. And Margaret Lee said that she's never seen this many people online, and way to go, employment lovers. Yeah. I'm excited to see a good group of people here. So, and some, like I said, some new faces, and some familiar ones as well. And then we are going to move on to our next speaker, which is Vaughn Brown. He's going to speak on employment consultant, and he's also a self-advocate. So you can take it away, Vaughn, if you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Vaughn Brown, and I am a employment consultant at Northwest Center here in Spokane, Washington. And today I want to talk to you about the importance of my position and also speak as somebody who also has disabilities. I was hired very recently, back in October of 2022, to join the Northwest Center team, and also just joining the at-large community to provide employment services to clients with disabilities. And I understand the value of this because I have benefited from employment assistance myself from DVR, from DSB, and from smaller nonprofit organizations such as Northwest Center. I want to start out by saying the one lesson that I've learned is that there is today a very much need for employment services to help clients with disabilities find and keep meaningful jobs. One of the points that I want to make is the importance of taking your lens and changing it. For example, the indigenous peoples of North America believed that there are no disabilities. As long as you can contribute to the community, you do not have a disability. However, the way that European has structured our country in the past and continue to structure as Americans today highlights people with disabilities as somebody who is unable to work. And this is not true. I believe that everyone has a right to an employment, no matter how small the hours might be or how minimal the contribution is. So I want to request that we receive more funding to continue to support people with disabilities find jobs and to keep them. I have been happy to find out that employers today are becoming to realize the importance of hiring a diverse population. It is important to represent people from our community. So for example, a grocery store provides goods and products for everybody in the community, regardless of their background or their abilities. And so this means that we should be hiring people to that grocery store with disabilities to better represent the community that the grocery store is serving. So that's just one example of a business that should be focused on diversifying the workforce. So again, without the services to help people with disabilities break through the social barriers that has been set forth for many of hundreds of years and continues today, we are asking that the legislatures consider continuing to fund our services and to increase our rates accordingly. In my position, that would be from $75 to $129 an hour. And before I hand the microphone back over, I want to remind once again, as I stated in the beginning, I believe that people with disabilities should be viewed as people without disabilities as far as their contributions to society. But again, as the social structure and norms has limited our abilities to become contributors, this is the reason why we need services. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vaughn. That was very well spoken, and I agree. Everybody should be able to have the right to work, and we, especially us with disabilities, to have those services so we can work and make a living just like anyone else. Next on the agenda is oh, sorry, it's loading, is our speaker, Nikki Soley. Hopefully I said that right. And she's a parent advocate, and she's gonna, I'm gonna have her speak, and I'm excited to hear what she has to say.
You don't want to talk?
Yes.
Oh,
No.
can you just say what do you do at your job?
Country club.
Right. What do you do?
And pick up balls.
And do you do other things?
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you do?
I dig balls.
You dig them out of the ground, even though they've said you don't really need to dig them all. You do
Just
that
trying
anyway.
to help.
Exactly. You're just trying to help. And who are some of the people you work with?
Cassie.
Yep, Cassie's your job coach. Who else do you work with? You don't remember their names? I thought Aaron.
Aaron, yeah.
Yeah. And didn't you talk to Mike just last week? What were you saying to Mike?
Job.
Something about they need a gift shop, don't they?
Yes, they want.
Yeah, and you even showed him the list you made of all the things that could go in the gift shop, right?
Yes.
What were some
Magnets.
of the magnets? Yes. Ornaments.
Golf cart toys.
And golf cart toys.
Snow globes.
Yes, because everyone needs. Yes, we love snow globes.
And postcard.
And definitely postcards. Yeah. And what?
Lava lamp.
Well, the lava lamp was for the kids area they just built. You had a lot of
Yes.
ideas. What were some of the ideas? So they just built a kids space at the club. And they need Santa time. And but you also wanted to let them know what you thought should go in a kids club area that they just built. They just built this. So you had,
Yes.
yeah, you had a lot of ideas of what should go in there. Now, Trevor, what are you gonna, you have a job, right? You have a job, you're an adult. What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do with your
Cover
life?
book.
Show them really quickly
Yeah,
your,
take-
oh, you want me to hold it? What? I wish, okay, here, let's get rid of this filter. Okay. This is a lot of pages, it's like 20 pages. And
We're gonna take it to Spencer Key.
yeah, your friend Spencer Key. So you have written a list of all these different places and all these activities that you would like to do. He's, by the way, has better handwriting than I do. He works really hard at this all day long when he's not at work or doing other activities. But you know, this is how he envisions his adult life, working and then hopefully traveling. And I think he would make a great travel advisor to anyone who is interested in going on an adventure anywhere in the world, because this really covers not only different places in the States, but around the world as well. And so we're trying to document that. I'm trying to teach him Instagram. But so my name's Nikki, and Trevor is my oldest. He completed his transition program in June of 2020. What a year, right? So the last 3 months of that program, you know, during that really important time when you're working with both the school and the employment agency to find a job, you know, you're working on goals for life after when school is over, it all shut down. And so we shifted to virtual
and museums.
And, you know, virtual for a lot of students was not a good fit, but we made it through. July of 2020, he started working.
This is for Spencer Key.
Yeah, for his current Spencer Keys is spent for his current job.
For
So
the mail
you're really excited to work at the club, right? You really love working at the club.
and a country club.
At the country club.
Construction. Stuff.
I know, he's friendly, he gets along with his coworkers, he shows up on time, he dresses appropriately, and he's a problem solver. So he'll speak up if something isn't working. He'll also come up with ways to fix a problem, and he's capable of learning a new task. And this job is very typical for a high schooler or young adult. It's not modified or carved out. So I guess what I really want to point out is these are all attributes of what an employer looks for in a young employee. He has some challenges, and his job coaches have done a fabulous job of bridging the communication gap, helping when there's a problem with his schedule, helping him update his logon credentials, helping him to teach him new tasks. Now, and these seem so small, but they have such a huge impact. You know, it means his employer has gained a very valuable and dependable employee. And I'm so grateful that, that they took a chance in hiring him, but at the same time, they didn't, not really, because he is such a great employee. So they're really fortunate to have him. And having a job coach, it took away some of that stress of the unknown about hiring someone with a disability. And in these almost 3 years now that he's worked there, I have seen so much growth in the last 3 years, more than I ever thought possible, especially now that school is over, right? He's done with school. So everything from this point on, it's on natural supports, supporting him live his best life. And it's very scary for families who have to try to navigate and connect to all these services. So it is a blessing to know that there's supports out there like his employment coach, work opportunities, that's there, making sure he, you know, helping him keep a job that he loves, that he can do really, really well. And then he can, just like any other individual, he can focus on, yeah, this is a previous draft of this like 80-page travel book.
You found my stamp.
Yes.
I can make myself.
And he has just made so much growth. He has made growth in speaking up for himself because he is naturally a problem solver.
Bring the gift.
And so now it's helped him speak up, and his handwriting is so wonderful that he can write these lists of, this is the list of what he feels like should go in the childcare area that they just recently built. And he recognizes what's needed. He knows what's needed in a childcare area, and he wanted to make sure that they knew that. And with the help of his job coach, he's really able to bridge that gap for that communication piece. So I don't know if I have more time or if anyone has any questions about any of this, but I just can't say enough that I don't think the growth that we've seen would have been possible without him having his job coach, right? To be there to support him. So
I think we have a packed agenda, Nikki, but would you be willing to put your email and contact information in the chat box? Trevor, you are brilliant at what you do. I'm already thinking of so many ideas. We just took a graphic facilitation class and you could have taught that class. Beautiful. If you're willing to put your contact information, I'll pass the mic back to Taylor because I know we have an agenda. Thank you so much for your story.
yes.
Does anyone have any questions for Trevor and his mom? I know I didn't see any questions, but I saw a lot of love and support for Trevor. It was Trevor just got spammed with a bunch of praise. Not surprised. And Trevor, someone here in the chat said that Trevor needs to be in charge of the marketing. People are wanting to buy a travel book from you already. And just that you have some brilliant ideas overall. And then that CRPs want to help more people like you and live their best lives. Because without people like Trevor and, we could miss out on a bunch of ingenious ideas and leaderships and true leadership and what it looks like. Though his travel book is the most organized I've ever seen. It's completely organized and legible, and all of that is shows so much talent. And Trevor, I hope if you hear this, you know how proud you should be of yourself and how bright your future will be. So thank you for you both for sharing that. That means a lot to us and what in the employment workforce. Yep, there's so much praise. I can't even go through all the comments. And also, does anyone have any questions or comments for the last speakers like Vaughn or Courtney or Karen? If not, we'll move forward with our agenda. Oh, Courtney.
Taylor, I just want to point out there's been a few questions asked about the employment and rate study that we've been referencing. I've put the attachment in the chat box. We'll continue doing so, and there's also a link that was provided by Debbie Myers. So if there's folks that are continuing to want to read that, we'll continue putting that in the chat box for reference points.
And if anyone has any questions, if anyone doesn't have any questions, we'll move forward. But like I said, so much praise for Trevor. I don't even have time to read it all. That's how much praise you have, Trevor. That's how amazing you are. So, and Chelsea actually just asked in the chat, is there a bill number or initiative number we can reference when contacting our state legislators?
That's a great question, Chelsea. And actually, because this isn't policy, it's budget, it's going to be a budget ask. And so we'll know Thursday which legislators are going to actually sponsor the budget ask in both the House and Senate. And from there, we're going to ask you to participate in our calls to action. And I think you provided your email. We'll make sure to get you on that email distribution list. Jason, if you could make a note, and we'll make sure to get that call to action to you on what to do and what messages could be helpful to start with.
Chelsea says thank you, and she put her email in the chat. Awesome. So we're going to move on to our next speaker. Hopefully I'm saying this right, Julio Dahlstrom. He's a self-advocate and receiving employment services currently. So take it away, Julio.
All right, I am Julio Dahlstrom. I work I work for Round One, the bowling alley in Puyallup. Is brand new, and I got that job through bodies that's helping me with having this job. I feel wonderful to stay busy, so then I can have more money to do things, and I'm also happy to help people out in the community. Then after work, of course, I'm tired, but I like to always stay busy on doing things. And I'm happy to have my job coach help me keep me busy at work, and also be very supportive. And I had different jobs before working at the bowling alley in Puyallup. I worked at Shake Shack in downtown Seattle, and I worked also at SCAC Industries in Kent, and I worked there for 15 and a half years, and that's been one of my longest jobs that I had, and I'm happy to do that again. I'll try to keep that going at Round One at the bowling alley. I'll try to match it up with my other job.
And how long did it take you to find that job after?
And well, finding the job at Round One, it took me like about a month or a little more.
Sure, working with you, right?
And after working with Sophia, and she's doing a great job, and I hope to keep her working, so then she can have things to do. And I hope that they will have state funding, so then both like myself and other people that have disabilities can also continue on finding great jobs around the community. And that's about it.
Good job.
Thank you for sharing, Julio. It's awesome just to hear all your accomplishments and what you've done, and also making a difference in the IDD world, and being a great example and role model for all of us. And I really appreciate you sharing your story. Courtney says you're wonderful, and she loved hearing your passion and longevity in your role. And we're just all proud of your success overall. And Heather Evans says that you have a lot of jobs. 15 years is awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
if-
15 years I worked at SCAC Industries in Kent. That was one of my longest jobs.
Hi, Julio. It's great to see you here today. You did an
Hi.
awesome job. It's Debbie.
Hi. Long time no here.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good
Great to see you.
Thank you.
So Julio, combined, that is like 25 years. That's amazing. That's what Heather said she noticed. And Sandra says, thank you for sharing. Does anyone ever have any other comments or questions for Julio on his employment journey and how much he's accomplished? I know I would love to, I'd love to hear more of Julio's story later on, because even I'm only in my like third or fourth job in my lifetime, and I'm amazed with how much experience you have. And I just think that's really inspiring. Thank you.
And I also want to say thank you to Debbie Myers, who also had me work at SCAC Industries for a long time, for 15 and a half years or more. And that's how I learned how to do different jobs.
Oh, Julio, you're the rock star.
Yep.
I'm so glad you landed at round one and you have great job coaches now to support you since you're not in King County anymore. And so great to hear your story. And it just really, you are the rock star, but I know that you've always appreciated the support and help that you get from your job coaches. And so just so proud of you and your continued success.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Julio, and like I said, I appreciate you. There's so much to look up to, and again, you're also getting a lot of praise here in the chats, and you should be proud of, you should be proud of what you have accomplished, and I hope to have as much employment experience as you as well.
Yeah.
All right, and Courtney in the chat said said if you're interested in being on the calls to action list, email her. She put her email in the chat, and she's willing to talk through any process and hearing why the jobs matter, because they do. And so our next speaker is going to be Julie Clark, who we all know, our amazing self-advocate here, who is always great at testifying. And she's going to share her story on employment services and day rates. So Julie, the spotlight's on you.
My name is Julie Clark, and I am 55 years old. I have cerebral palsy. I have worked with a career consultant from Morningside Services for 22 years. I was a secretary for the Division of Equal Access and Opportunity. Afterwards, I became strongly involved in advocacy for individuals with disabilities, and I began working at CoQua Services as a training specialist, teaching new caregivers how to best support their clients. I make valuable contributions at my job, and it is an important part of my life. A job coach is vital to my work. My job coach supports me with communication, improving my training presentations, and anything I need physical support with. I feel confident about my job, knowing that my job coach will be there for anything I need. For me and others to receive high-quality employment services, we need providers who are compensated fairly for the work that they do. A rate study was performed and found that a rate increase is necessary for providers to be able to continue their services. However, the governor's budget does not include this full rate increase. We need a budget that incorporates this rate increase so that individuals with disabilities can receive these vital services. I have a strong need and desire to contribute to the community. I feel accomplished and alive when I help others, and I feel rewarded to use my gift for this purpose. When working, I am an example to others to go beyond what you think your limitations are. Working gives me a stable income that allows me to live comfortably. Work and career pursuits are more than a paycheck. They give people the ability to realize their full potential and passion. I feel very passionate about disability rights because I want to give back and I want people to get what they deserve so they can lead healthy and fulfilled lives too. People, including me, deserve to have high quality supports from individuals who are highly trained and possess the appropriate skills to serve people with disabilities. These services are vital to individuals, and the people who provide these services deserve to be compensated fairly for the work they do.
Thank you, Julie. That was well spoken. As usual, your testimonies are always very polished and amazing and on points. And I always am amazed by your testimonies. Like this people is a great example of a great way to testify. Like she's very experienced and does a wonderful job. And Julie, you also got a lot of praise as well in the comments. And does anyone have any questions for Julie before we move on, or any other questions for that matter? Okay, and oh, Branda in the chat says you were so great. You were a great coworker at Thurston County Social Services DD office. So, yep. So, all right. If there's no more questions, we will move on. Thank you. Thank you again, Julie, for always sharing great testimony. And then we are going to move on to Heather Evans from Morningside, and she's going to speak. And we're actually a little ahead of time. So take it away, Heather.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. First, I want to thank all the speakers that came before me. My name is Heather, and I'm coming to you today from the provider perspective, but I also want to highlight I'm a care provider and a sibling to a person who uses supported employment services. So as we move through this time today, I'd like you to consider a couple of things. In 2019, Washington State employees with developmental disabilities earned $67.6 million, paid taxes, spent those earnings in their communities, reduced their reliance on public supports while increasing quality of life and health outcomes. Washington businesses rely on those employees. These are real jobs for real pay. And they rely on the providers that support those candidates, those employees with developmental disabilities, to match job seeker skills, provide support with training, identify, implement, and teach accommodations, educate coworkers. Something else, some other facts to consider. Washington State has been #1 in the nation for employment outcomes for people with developmental disabilities. And that's because of the advocates here today who say, I will work, I am accomplished, right? And they're supported employment providers. Last session, when we went to the legislature, both individuals who use supported employment services and providers, and we said, we are in a crisis. The legislature, we're grateful for this, said, great, let's do a rate study, let's take a look. We told the legislature at that time that with a rate that was 11 years old, we could not pay hardworking employees appropriate wages to support those businesses and their employees that happen to have developmental disabilities. Some other things to consider. When the hourly rate that pays agencies that provide supported employment and community inclusion services was set 12 years ago now, the minimum wage was $8.67. In those 12 years, Washington state minimum wage has increased by 44%. Yet the rates paid to support individuals working in their community has stayed the same. The rate study that was conducted and ordered by the legislature confirmed our message. We're in crisis. We cannot pay living wages to hardworking employees with a rate that was set over 12 years ago. Some quick other facts to consider. In spring of 2020, two-thirds of providers said we don't have staff capacity to take on new clients. But what does that mean? Imagine your son, your daughter, your loved one, your sibling, spending 18, 21 years engaged in school activities, and graduating to sit on the couch waiting for services to support them while their peers and siblings go off to work because there are no providers to support them to get to work. This impacts businesses also. People with disabilities are an untapped market potential. We know that they are valuable employees. In the same, and we've touched on some of this, but in that same legislative session, we were so excited to see the passage of 2 bills that increased transition services, as well as enabling people with developmental disabilities to access job supports and support to be in their community, because everybody deserves a whole full life, right? But we must say this significantly increases the promised employment and inclusion services for Washingtonians with developmental disabilities without addressing this staffing and funding crisis. So you've heard some of the lived human experience from our first 3 speakers, and I'd like to present one more viewpoint, and that's the viewpoint of an employee providing supported employment and community inclusion services to Washingtonians and businesses and community places in Washington state. So in that rate study, which Courtney linked in the chat box, it's a summary, included is a summary of services provided by supported employment workers. For supported employment services, it lists 3 pages of potential duties and 1.5 pages of potential duties for community inclusion workers. I'm going to give you some examples of some of the duties that supported employment or a community inclusion worker support provider would do as a daily part of their job. Support clients with developmental disabilities and their support teams to navigate and connect to resources like the Social Security Administration, Developmental Disabilities Administration, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. Duties like researching current job market and employers and comparing the job seeker's skills and preferences to that job market, which must result in paid employment that matches both the employer's need and the job seeker's need. Duties like developing an assistive technology plan and then supporting people to connect to resources to purchase or fund or negotiating with an employer to purchase that assistive technology. And then supporting the person and their colleagues and their work or their community spaces to learn how to use that assistive technology so that the supported employment or community inclusion provider can fade out of the picture. And those people can do their job and their community activities together. Conducting labor market analysis, developing and presenting environmental analysis of targeted businesses, educating employers on the benefits of supported employment, negotiating to customize job hours, job tasks, job wages, and accommodations, producing ongoing case notes, writing billing reports for public funders. Again, it's 2 pages of duties. And these are duties that I've talked about are required before the client has paid employment. The duties and support that workers provide to job seekers with developmental disabilities once they are employed are even more nuanced and impactful for our businesses and Washington state workers. And here's the hard, dirty truth. This is why we're here today, asking for the implementation of the rate study. The Washington workers, the people doing those supportive services, that list of duties, can often earn those same wages at retail stores and fast food jobs in our community. Surely, our business community and the people doing this work and the people employed who have developmental disabilities deserve stronger, more consistent support. Because of the 12-year-old rate structure, supported employment and community inclusion providers cannot provide the services promised to Washington citizens with developmental disabilities and our business community. We cannot pay appropriate wages to workers with a 12-year-old rate who provide these important and complex services. We can't recruit and we can't retain workers. And that means that we can't fulfill Washington State's promises to workers with disabilities and the business community. But I'm, of course, not here to tell you doom and gloom without answers. Thanks to that rate study that the legislature ordered, we have the data. We have the evidence that our legislature needs to enact appropriate rates. We must fund supported employment and community inclusion providers appropriately. We must provide the promised supports and services to Washington citizens with disabilities and their employers, and we must pay our workforce livable wages. All of that happens when we enact the rate study recommendations. Thank you so much for listening and for being here today. And we're ready to help. So if you want to tell your story, we are here to do it. Talk to your legislatures and follow the action alerts sent out by CEA. And that's my time.
That was just awesome. Like I just wanted to keep playing, like preach. So that was awesome. You got a lot of praise in the comments as well, saying that was just spectacularly on point. Debbie Myers in the chat said, developed jobs starts keep coming, running out of job coaches to support. We need to be able to pay for the professional work that is provided and expected. And then also in the chat, we got Debbie Myers also says supporting the 2022 DDA rate study that the legislator asked is so important. So she's thanking you on reiterating that as well. And just, yes, a lot of praise and thank you for speaking on job seeker and job finders on their behalf. Yeah, you just gave people a lot of goosebumps and just made a lot of providers feel heard. A lot of people with IDD feel heard. And yeah, it's just awesome. And thank you for your support and speaking, Heather. We really appreciate you taking your time to do that. Next on the schedule, we're going to have, oh, real quick, does anybody else have any questions for Heather before we move on? If not, oh, Christina, number one outcomes for people with IDD in 42nd in per capita funding. Wow, yeah. All right, we are going to move on to our next speakers, Jason Peterson and Tammy Bowen on Employment for All proclamation. So if you guys want to go ahead and speak, you're on.
Taylor, I promised I would share this information. So it is typical that we have a proclamation every year. There is a glitch in the mailing process, and so our proclamation is pending. However, we feel it's imperative to read the proclamation and really the intent behind this day. It's vital, especially because we have not been in person for 3 years. And so we want Tammy and Jason to still fulfill that message. It's important, but please know the 2023 proclamation is pending. We know that the governor's on top of it though.
Thank you. Also, the proclamation, it says, whereas the state of Washington has a long history of leadership in protecting and promoting equal opportunity for people who have disabilities, and whereas individuals with disabilities continue to experience unemployment and and poverty at rates substantially higher than those without disabilities. And whereas Washington State's employment for law recognizes that all individuals, regardless of their disabilities, will be afforded an opportunity to pursue competitive employment. And take it away, Jason.
Thank you, Tammy. Whereas Washington is recognized nationally for its excellence and success in providing supported employment services to people with disabilities. Whereas people with disabilities require assistance to ensure job success and should have access to supports necessary to succeed. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim as in Washington, employment for all in Washington, and I encourage employers to join in fighting perceptions that are keeping people living with disabilities from joining the workforce, and encourage employers to hire people with disabilities as an integral part of their workforce.
Thank you both for, thank you to both Tammy and Jason for speaking on that. I really appreciate that. And Diana put the governor's proclamation in the chat, just like Jason was reiterating about the governor's proclamation. And so if you want to go and take a look at the governor's proclamation, it's in the chat. Yeah, it's in the chat. And so if there's no questions for Jason and Tammy, Courtney will take it away next before we have the senator come on.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I'm tickled pink that we have enough time so that I can sing some praises to these speakers. They're incredible. Senator Trudeau is on at 11, but we're definitely going to send her this recording. I put it in the chat box, but it got lost because everyone else was complimenting the amazing caliber of folks presenting. You all just have this word that is just reaming in my mind, and it's legacy. And because you have a mark and you're making the mark, and I'm just so thrilled that you had this opportunity and agreed to this opportunity so that we can all hear your voice. They're wonderful stories, and it just, I'm reminded on why I do what I do, and it was a good reminder. I appreciate it so much. We have about 6 minutes until Senator Trudeau pops on. And so we have time to talk about questions if folks would have them. Don't hesitate, just either unmute yourself and ask away. Happy to provide any clarity. There's a lot of information, and the legislative session can be very confusing. And so we're happy to answer any questions folks might have. Also, if you want to provide props to our speakers, you can use this time too. So take it away. We don't have any rhyme and order here, so just hop on when you want to say something.
I think I will, Julie. This is Kyle here from North Seattle. First of all, I praise and thanks all the speakers that speak from their heart. And that's what it's all about, just speaking from your heart. Especially our Nick Sully and his son, Trevor. One of the things I was going to promote was our organization, the organization that I belong to called People First, which is an organization with people all disability. We go out and seek what's out in the world. We go teach what's in the world. We go, etc. And he's more than welcome to join his local chapter and especially his travel. Because I do, since I'm now retired, I also do some traveling. And I wish I could make a book like that and how all the research that goes into it and how the research and get the pricing, the airline pricing, the whole 9 years. But I'd love to get his book. So I'm willing to put my email for him to send me a copy, and so I can see what he has done, so that it gets perspective for somebody else that has done, maybe written up a plan with how to go about traveling and what are the places that he's done and what he enjoys doing, etc. And so in that sense, it was great job for everybody's kudos. It was nice, great information, etc. about employment. Because I know when I was employed for many years, especially my longest job was with Pitney Bowes for over 13 years, doing as a mailroom associate, and until I was released. But then now I'm retired and enjoying life. But when you're young and you need to get out in this world, etc. And I'll test to Julie because what she likes doing, and like testing to other people what they love doing is that once they graduated out of high school, they want to go out and do something, be part of the community, their community, instead of being stuck somewhere and having nothing to do or like twiddling their thumbs. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Kyle.
I think Brandy Motz has a question.
Yeah, your hand's up, Brandy.
Hi there. Thank you. Yeah, this is Brandy from DDC, and hello, employment people. Hey, I had a question for particularly folks who live in communities where there's not a really strong transition program to help students get from the school system into the work system. And I wonder, I know there's not like a specific bill this year about transition like we've had in the past. I wonder what is the messaging or what is the perspective to help people who are here and live in communities where there's not that school to work program that you folks mentioned we passed last year.
Brandy, are you directing the question to me?
Sure, or anyone that feels like they could answer that.
Wonderful. And Karen, help out as if I miss anything. So last year we had a lot of legislation passed and we shared props to our disability community for really supporting us. One of those pieces of legislation that got passed was statewide school to work. Creating access to all counties to have the opportunity for individuals to engage with that service. And we're really excited. And so currently DVR is working with Division of Vocational Rehabilitation is working with DDA, OSPI, and the counties on how to really make that the best and how to make it really successful for everybody. It's a big job. We have 39 counties. Currently only 7 have statewide school to work. And so really making it fit the individual community is something that we're working with DVR on. And so we're looking forward to Melinda, who is currently overseeing this unfold out our project rollout, and seeing how that really transpires. And so what we would advise is working and addressing questions or concerns to Melinda. Karen Williams, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that we know as a state is we have imperfect access to services. And so like Brandy said, that in some communities, we don't yet have a robust process to connect someone from school into the adult service system and job. And so in addition to what you offered, Courtney, I think also Job Foundation exists in some communities. That's another newer program that's intended to support someone while they're still in school to begin building their pathway to work. So ask your counties for Job Foundation and when they are going to implement school to work. And I think the more that we create demand and we expect this of our communities and our schools, then the more we'll get response. So I think if there are people that have questions, I would suggest that they call their county, which I know might not be someone that you've been in touch with before, but counties help coordinate these adult services, employment and community inclusion, and a lot of transition programs. They are like the best connector. So there's usually a DD coordinator in each county for those services. So that's someone to reach out to and see what's happening in your community if you're not getting answers from your school or your case manager. People might have other ideas if you've done this. So put it in the chat if people have other ideas about how to get good supports to start your career after school if there isn't a school to work program in your community.
Can I jump in? This is Kirsten Amundsen from King County. So I grew up in the Bellevue Public Schools, went to Interlake High School for high school, and then had to delay my graduation 3 years because of going into the Bellevue Transition Program because of being linked to that. And at first, I didn't want to be a part of that. But years later, I'm realizing how much of a benefit that was, because every class that I took, every job, temporary job that I had really was wonderful because it helped me realize what I wanted to do. That, you know, I had the job support, I had advisors helping me figure out what I wanted to do. And just having that has been really beneficial to me because, you know, it shows that there are people in this world that care, that want to help you make the best of the resources you have. So I would stress that anyone who is at that point where they have their kids at the transition or entering into that it would be a benefit, because there are a lot of people in this community that don't even have that support, that have jobs. And I'm a proponent of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kirsten, for sharing your personal story and journey and your advice. It's great. And thanks for even talking about the parts that were hard and you didn't necessarily want to do. So appreciate it.
This is David Wilder in Skagit County. Just wanted to compliment all the speakers I heard this morning. Great job. And in any way I can help in the future as the session goes on, I'd be happy to. Worked at Chinook for 24 years. So I've been lucky enough to have to only find one main job, have had a couple of others. Been a community activist in this county for 36 years in different ways, but any other way I can help as the session goes on, as far as testimony or anything else, it'll have to be online because traveling is such an issue from here to Olympia and back and forth. But if I can help, I'd be happy to do so.
Oh, David, we are going to employ your brilliance. I've had the pleasure of working with you and being in some meetings with you, and there's no doubt that you can get us and work with us to the finish line. I do see a question from Sydney. Go ahead, Sydney.
Well, actually, it's more of a compliment. I just want to thank all the speakers for speaking and sharing their stories about employment, because it's an issue that relates with me, because I too struggle with finding the right job. When I lived in Alaska, I bounced around from job to job to job, mainly worked seasonal, never had a job to call home. And so when I came up here to Spokane, I thought, you know, I'm almost 30 years old. I never had a stable employment. And so I had a job coach to help me finding the right job. And now I work for Spokane Neighborhood Action Partners, simply known as SNAP. And I work for the University of Washington as part of their Echo Autism Hub team member. And now I serve on the Washington State Developmental Disabilities Council.
Wow, Sydney. I loved how you put a job at, and equated it to home, because it just translates to me basic need. Everyone, work matters, jobs are needed for everybody, and it just reinforced that message. And thank you for sharing that story, Sydney. You are incredible. What a force. We do have, so Taylor and Diana, let me play this back to you. Our lobbyist hopped on before Senator Trudeau, and I'm sure he'd be happy to do our booyah. And then when Trudeau gets on, we can get the mic set for her. How does that sound? All right, Bob. So just so you know, Bob, you missed some amazing speakers I'm going to have you listen to. This group is prime and ready for activation mode. So the mic is yours, my friend.
So it's been a crazy day, but welcome to Lobby Day, or as I call it, must be present to win. Yes, you know, part of the whole way this thing works is participation. And I got to say, it's great to see everybody here. I already had a couple of meetings this morning, and there's more coming. I hope a lot of you have scheduled meetings either in person or virtually with your members. If you have any doubts that your presence can make a difference, it does. It does make a difference. Yes, I'm your lobbyist, but you're the experts. You can tell lawmakers what's happening on the ground. You can help them understand what's happening in their communities across the state. It's just that simple. And any of you who might not have done this before, don't worry about it. You know, legislators are just regular people. The only difference between you and them is they stood up and said, I want the job. They're a cross section of the state. They're not really all that different than you and me, except for maybe they're the outgoing type A personalities who made it through a campaign. You know, while lobbying on your issues, you add the one thing that I cannot give 145 of the legislators here. That Courtney and most of the rest of us you see up here can't give most of the legislators, and that's a vote. At the end of the day, they end up in office because people like you vote for them. And they really do pay attention to what constituents have to say. There are times when I'll try to wrestle a meeting with a legislator. They don't have any time. Constituent calls up and says, I've got this hour on this date. They say, sure, come on over. So they really, really do pay attention to you. Thing to keep in mind, though, is that as of this morning, there have been nearly 1,400 bills introduced in the legislature. 1,400 bills. And they have another 2 weeks to hear bills in committee before most of them fall by the wayside. And there will be more bills introduced. So they really need to hear from you about what is important to you as their constituent. That's really key, is talking to your legislators, telling them what you want them to hear, and it raises it to the top of their agenda. Had a meeting this morning, the member couldn't make it, but his legislative assistant was there taking copious notes, and we'll type those up and share them with the member. And we did actually connect with the member a little later outside the chamber doors. But thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for help moving the issues forward. And every little bit that you do makes my job and Courtney's job just a little bit easier. So thank you.
And Bob, you undersold yourself. Bob's an incredible advocate for this community, and honestly, his work to get our message resounding is something that is so incredibly valuable. So thank you so much, Bob, for your work on behalf and with individuals with disabilities. Does anyone have any questions for Bob? Again, we've got some time until Senator Trudeau pops on, but so far I'm amazed by everyone's engagement. Anyone have any questions for Bob before he pops off?
Hi, my name is Sarah Ducharme. I don't have a question for Bob necessarily, but I just wanted to comment on the school to work for a second is that I am here in Skagit County, and we do not have school to work in our county, but we do have a wonderful program called Bridges that is county funded that supports students going from school to work adult services. And we also have two great transition programs, one of which I am an instructor at, and that is the ADDIC program, and the other is the INVEST program. So we have two great transition programs in our county, as well as a county-funded program that helps bridge the gap between school and work services.
Wonderful. You got some applause. And Sarah, I just want to point out that counties have the opportunity to opt into this service that's going to be funded through Senate Bill 5790, which is statewide school to work. And so that's why we're encouraging everyone to reach out to their county coordinators, because they really know the individualized flavor of each county better than really anyone else. And so you clearly have a lot of investment and knowledge when it comes to this. And so I'm hopeful you're going to be connecting with your county coordinator to make this a really nice customized fit for everyone receiving those services.
We connect with her all the time.
Awesome, Sarah, rock star. I see a hand up for from Josie. Go ahead, Josie.
Hey, I am a little bit older than you, Courtney Williams. I see you on Facebook a lot. I adore your daughter, you know, you know, and anything. But I lived in the 80s. I was born in the 80s, been raised in the 90s, graduated school in 1999. You know, got to go to my first Mariner game when the stadium was first built, which was called Safeco Field back then. You know, that's what they named it for the start. And you know, they used to have a program over here in the 90s, job support and job programs used to be a lot better. Like when I was in high school, even though I went to like 3 or 4 different high schools, 5 different high schools during my high school years, you know, I went to a lot of them, but because I was in transition a lot and I was a foster kid, and you know, they had a program for kids even in middle school. I started working when I was 11, and yes, I got maybe $1 a day for working with the janitor, or working at the office, or working for a teacher that wasn't my teacher, because you couldn't do that. That was one of their rules. You couldn't work for your own teacher. And you got only $1 a day. Doesn't matter how many jobs you did, but they had the kids cleaning up the schools, you know.
Wow, Josie, your flashback to history is resounding on me. I'm looking forward to talking to you more. Are you okay if we put a pause, because we know Senator Trudeau is hopping on just as we speak right now, so that we can hear a little bit from Senator Trudeau. Oh my goodness, Senator Trudeau, it's wonderful seeing you. And thank you so much for being present. We know you're busy and you had to hop in a room special for us, and we thank you so much for being here. I will give you the floor.
Thank you so much. And I would love to engage longer, but as was mentioned, I'm in between floor votes. So I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to thank you all just for all of the work that you do in this space. It was really my honor and privilege to support the rate study. And so I'll continue to work for that. And I just wanted you to hear from me directly. So I do have to run. I'm so sorry, but I hope we do get to engage, and just know that I'm rooting for you and I appreciate you, and more will come.
Well, thank you, Senator Trudeau. Thursday is the budget timeline, we know, and we're looking forward to working with you this session to get this to the finish line. All these advocates are saying the same message, and so we're really proud of the work we're doing and working with you. So I'll let you go. Best of luck today, and thank you for your time.
Bye. Thank you all.
Well, Taylor, you're doing incredible on multitasking, lady. I'm impressed and taking notes. I'm going to give you back the floor.
Thank you. It was nice to see Senator Trudeau for a bit. I always I'm amazed how she's able to balance motherhood on top of all this crazy busy legislative session. So hope she knows how important and inspiring that is as well, especially coming from me being a mom as well and many others on this Zoom chat. Anyways, next we're gonna have Diana Staton speak on the bills of interest, and it sounds like more bills have popped up and there's more hearings coming up as well, and we'll just have Diana take the floor next.
Thanks, Taylor. Excuse me. I'm going to share my screen so we can look at the bills of interest. Move this out of the way so I can get to it. So we have a really long bill of interest right now. And as Bob was saying, you know, there's hundreds, thousands of bills that get dropped every year. And we go through it and each day look at the new bills that have dropped and see if they are something that will affect people with developmental disabilities. If they do, then they go on this list. You'll see this first section is budget and taxes. So the operating budget, which funds the services that people need, and the capital budget, that funds like building buildings, building homes, building schools, things like that. So we have such a long list that I can't go through them all, but I will cover some of the important ones that we're watching. One is that property tax exemption for adult family homes. This was on there last year and almost made it, but not quite. So Representative Ramos and Senator Mullet have both put the bill forward again, and it's moving along in the process. You'll see the second to the last column tells you if it's scheduled for a hearing or executive session. Extraordinary revenue from estate taxes. Senator Braun dropped this bill, and it gives about $400 million a year to the DD Community Services account from estate taxes. And so that would be a great thing. It's scheduled for executive session, so it's moving along. Under medical and Medicaid, we have a lot of what you see called interstate compacts. There's one for speech and language pathologists, mental health counselors, you know, lots of different areas where we don't have enough workforce. And these interstate compacts would allow professionals in other states to practice here. Obviously, they'd be doing it virtually, but it would help increase our workforce when we need speech therapists so badly, and we can bring in people from outside the state and recognize their license. Or mental health counselors, those are in high demand too. So if we can bring in some from other states, that would help us increase the workforce. Another bill that is back this year is the music therapy bill, setting up licensing for them. And there's two bills, Representative Reed and Senator Frame, and both bills have had a hearing. And I think that they might make it through there this year. Another way to help increase the workforce for mental health, behavioral health, is creating behavioral health support specialists. And they would have to be licensed and covered by Medicare, or Medicaid, excuse me. And Senator Trudeau was one of the sponsors for that bill, for the Senate bill. So we'll be watching to see where those go. Eligibility for DDA services. right now, if you apply to DDA and want to get your eligibility there, well, in order to do that, you first get evaluated whether you meet the criteria or not. And usually kids are in by 3 or 4 years of age. If they're eligible for services, once they reach 10 years old, then they have to go through the whole process over again. Parents have to track down school records. Kids have to have more evaluations done. And then again, they get evaluated at 19. Now, this 10-year-old evaluation kind of is just a stumbling block. It puts more work on families and children trying to get through all the paperwork process of that 10-year-old evaluation. And most of them will pass anyway, still go through. So it's a lot of work for families. It's a lot of work for case managers. And so we have a bill that Representative Taylor put forward that will get rid of that 10-year-old evaluation. They'll be evaluated when they first come into DDA, and then when they become an adult at 19, they get reevaluated because the services for children is very different than children or services for adults. So we're watching that bill as well. We got a new one that showed up. It's House Bill 1580, and it's to support children in crisis. And this is because we have so many children stuck in hospitals with no medical need. So they want to create a care coordinator and a rapid care team to help address these kids that are in crisis before they go into a hospital and try and get things figured out where they can be supported in the community. This is a bill by Representative Callan, and so we're really happy to see that one. The next one is House Bill 1694 is about home care workers. As with everything, we don't have enough workforce to take care of all of the people that need care. And so one of the ways of addressing this would be to let parents of kids under 18 get paid when they have to quit their jobs and stay home because the child has such complex medical needs or behavioral needs. Currently, parents get paid if their child is over 18, but not if they're under 18. And if they could, it's not going to change anything. There wouldn't be any extra expense because the child still has those hours. It's just the parents can't find anybody to work those hours. So this would be, they'll study part of this, and they want to speed up testing for providers so they're not waiting 6 months before they can take the test and get licensed. So a lot of good things in this bill by Representative Alvarado. And that's a new one, so it hasn't gotten scheduled yet. Let's go down. We have a lot under education. And one of the things we are really watching is in our education system, we have a cap. And that means that school districts, they may have 100 students, say, for an example. And only out of those 100 students, maybe they've got 20 students who need special education services. Well, that is way more than the amount the cap will let you have, because the cap only lets you have 13.5% paid for of those students for their special education. And so we have some bills that want to raise the cap from 13.5 to 15% or 14.5%. But what we want is for them to take the cap off. Every student who qualifies and needs special education services should get them. And they haven't been.
And so those bills, we're watching all of them. A lot of these will fall away. As you know, as Bill said, when the cutoff comes on February 17th. We've also got House Bill 1479 that would stop schools from isolating children with disabilities and putting them in these locked rooms away from everyone. And also the restraints they use on them. They shouldn't be doing that. There are better ways to help children. And that bill's working its way through.
Hi, Diana. Sorry about that. My internet, I got kicked off. I don't know what happened. So I'm sorry, everybody. So
That's okay, Taylor. I'm still finishing up the bills.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to let you know, like, if you were like wondering, yeah, I got kicked off. So it was just, but it was the internet connection though. So I apologize again. I was just able to figure out another way. So I'm on my phone now.
Okay. So there's a lot of civil rights bills too. And I think the one that people are most interested in right now, especially self-advocates, is the Nothing About Us Without Us Act. These bills just dropped too. One of them has a hearing on Friday. The other one hasn't been scheduled yet, but it likely will be next week. And so we'll be watching those bills as well. And then under residential, we have two bills, House Bill 1654 and Senate Bill 5506. Now, this is to address all these kids with high behaviors that are in hospitals or being sent out of state. But what it does is it creates two homes somewhere here in our state, and it would have specialty staff that know how to work with people with behaviors, and they'd be specially trained. The problem is that's kind of like an institution. We don't want to have to send all our kids to Yakima Valley or Rainier, for respite or anything. They don't belong in locked buildings. And so what we are trying to work with Representative Harris and Senator Kaufman on this is to create the service. We need these trained professionals, but right now we don't pay enough for the high specialty professionals to want to do those jobs. So the important thing is the service, not the home. We don't want to just have two homes and everybody around the state has to go to those. All the supported living places around the state operated living alternatives, the group training homes, all of those would benefit by having these professionals helping work there. So we'll be working on those two bills as well. And I am out of time, and so I'm going to stop sharing. And yep, there's Jessica.
After this briefing, you have many options to advocate with your legislators. You can schedule a Zoom meeting with your legislators or email today's information to them. You can also email your legislators about bills that are important to you and to set up appointments to meet with them. You can also watch legislative action on TVW at www.tvw.org. You can sign in to testify at future hearings. You can sign in pro, con, or other, or submit written testimony on a bill. Let me show you how it works. Go to www.leg.wa.gov and scroll down to where it says "Let your voice be heard." Click on participating in the process, then click on testifying in a virtual hearing. Choose House or Senate, depending on which committee you want to testify at. We'll look at an important House bill today. Select the House button, then choose the Human Services, Youth, and Early Learning Committee. This is where many of our bills go to. Choose the date and time of the hearing. Today we will choose the 1:30 p.m. hearing. We will then click the circle for HB 1580. You will then select the type of testimony you want to give. You can testify in person if you want to go to the hearing in Olympia. You can also testify remotely using Zoom. If you don't want to testify but want to support the bill, you can click on, I would like my position noted for the legislative record. Usually you only get 1 or 2 minutes to testify, which is very short. If you have a lot to say, you can write it down and submit it as written testimony. Today we will sign in to testify. Choose your position on the bill, pro, con, or other. Fill out the form with your name, email, full address, and phone number. If your name is hard to pronounce, you can sound it out in the pronunciation box. If your name is easy to pronounce, don't worry about filling out that box. Usually you will be testifying as an individual, but if you are part of a panel of several people, you would enter your name and info as a new panelist, then add each person's info who will be on the panel after that. Finally, select I am not a robot. After you submit the registration form, an email will be sent to you with Zoom link information. Once you get the email, it has links to add it to your Outlook, Google, or Yahoo calendar. Advocacy Day is a project of the ARC of Washington State and funded by the Washington State Developmental Disabilities Council. Be sure to join us for future advocacy days. Register for each advocacy day on our website at www.arcwa.org/advocacy-ds. We want to make sure you are satisfied with advocacy days, so be sure to fill out our feedback form. Your feedback helps us to continue improving and helping your voice to be heard. Let's walk through it together. Start at the Advocacy Days page and scroll down to the smiley faces that say your feedback matters. Now select Click Here. The link to the feedback form in Spanish is right below the link to the English version. Start by putting in your email address. Next, you select the advocacy day you are giving input for. Then you respond if this is your first advocacy day or not. Next, you pick the smiley faces that answer how you feel about the virtual advocacy day. Then you submit the form. Just as simple as that. Your input helps the ARC of Washington know what you like, what you don't like, what is helpful, and what is not helpful. You can learn about these and more ideas to get involved on our website at www.arcwa.org and click on Advocacy Days. You can also contact us at sale@arcwa.org or Diana@arcwa.org if you need help. Are there any questions?
So I will we got a couple comments in the chat. So David Lord said, thanks, Diana. There's a bit more on House Bill 1541, nothing about us without us. It is a great bill, and he said to contact them in their email and phone numbers in the chat. The hearing is 8 a.m. on Friday in House State Government. It's not just for self-advocates, but the whole community, BIPOC community, and underrepresented community work groups. So thank you, David. And then Courtney Williams said this is her 3-year anniversary with everyone here. Happy anniversary, or I should say advocacy. But yes, and thank you for your help. And Courtney, it's you are a huge asset to us, and she's praising all of you guys here, all of us here. So, and then we are 20% done with the session, and we're going to move mountains together. And that's Courtney was just very able to speak. So thank you, Courtney. And then
Hey,
Jason.
Taylor, let's pause everybody. Taylor did an incredible job of hosting today. Diana and Jessica, the information you provide and put forth for our whole community. We know employment is just a part of it, but the full community, you all do an incredible job. And I just wanted to make sure we give adequate attention to you, Taylor. It is not easy juggling a group of 100. It was about 140. So let's snap for Taylor. She did incredible. You're going to sell yourself short,
Oh,
but
wow,
I
look
will
at
not. I will shout you out. And then
Well,
Tammy
thank
and
you.
Jason, thank you so much for your work. Just appreciate you all.
And thank you for your help, Courtney. And I appreciate Diana's help and Brandy's help. You guys are cheerleaders through this. So I'm glad I have your guys' help and support through this as well. Because your guys' roles are important here too. And you guys help me make a better host as well. So thank you for that. And does anyone else have any questions or comments? Jessica did a great job sharing about what's going on with hearings and what's going on with sale as usual. And I also want to reiterate that Jessica also does great with testifying. So if anyone here is, I just want you to know when it comes to testifying, if anyone's hard on yourself, just breathe. Even I'm hard on myself when it comes to testimonies. I'm trying to write up one right now for Friday to type one out. So just breathe, and we all got this. We all are going to give great testimonies and stories. And I have a feeling this momentum's going really well. So I think we're moving very smoothly here, in my opinion. So yeah, thank you everyone. And thank you for another successful advocacy day. And I appreciate you all. So with that being said, we will adjourn if that's okay.